All right, I'm on hole 3, par 5 of the Southcoast tournament. This is one of the new White Cliff golf course holes. I've got one video up. I have one video up already where I used a quarterback and came over into this area, brought it up to the front. Then you've got drive to the green, sniper shot. Red line was about right in this area, and I believe I was using either a katana or a quasar. We could up this up to a kingmaker to push that red line forward so we have more maneuverability on the shot to the green if we're coming from this direction. I like a lot of stuff about this shot over here. You're here, I think on this one I used 3 topspin. I used a quarterback. I've got written down on my notes on this hole I'm going to use a quarterback kingmaker, have a sniper in my back for the second shot. 3 topspin puts you right up to the front. Kingmaker's going to put your red line about right there. You'll have a nice green shot, and you'll have the entire length here. So if you do end up ending short up here, you have this entire fairway, no obstructions, right to the green. That's one of the things I like about this shot. I did, in the video I'm going to show here, try this shot, and I used a kingmaker, and we had a little bit of tailwind. And if we had some headwind here, I could have upped this to a 4 or a 5 power ball to get over, but I was able to drive over to the other side here. So I ended up in this area and then came out and got into this area, and from here I'm a long iron shot in. Now this long iron shot's not as good. I can't remember. I believe I did use a big ball here. So I was out in this area coming in. My red line was right in this area, so I used a long iron to come from here. And if in my bag, if I take this shot as my drive shot, I would definitely want my backbone as my next club to give me some accuracy to come towards the hole. On the other side of this line, unless you've got a club that'll give you enough backspin to get to it, I'm definitely going to want to bring my Guardian. So if I short shoot this and I'm out here, I have lots of maneuverability. So either one would work. So if you short shoot and you're out here, you could easily use a sniper to get in. But this shot's going to be a lot tougher. And if you find that when you're taking this shot, you're ending up in your wood range, then I would go for this, because this is a wood shot and it gives you plenty of room. The only reason that I would take this shot is if you could get that ball down into your long iron range. And it's very unlikely, unless you could drive all the way to the front, that and you could, if you used a bigger power ball, drive all the way to the front so that you could get yourself into short iron range. So we know now that it's possible to get over with a 3 power ball. So if you used a 4 power ball, you're going to start off here and it's going to put you further down, and you could potentially get down here into your short iron range on this side. But if you find yourself taking this shot and you're ending up back here a lot in your, you're ending up back here a lot and you're in your wood range, if you're still in your wood range, take this shot. It's a whole lot safer to get out here, and then you've got a much prettier view coming into the green. So if you're finding that, hey, I'm getting out here but I'm still not sinking that shot, I might take the higher percentage shot down here and just get my eagle on this hole and go home. But if you can get yourself out here, you will give yourself a really good albatross shot. But it's going to be, you're going to have to use some big stuff, and it's going to be a tricky shot. So let's watch the video. I did this with a 3 power ball. So our opponent's going to this area over here. And if you're going to shoot to this area, I think that using a bigger power ball and using a quarterback, it's not that you can't get it done with the extra mile, but with the extra mile, a grate to the left or the right is a lot of error on such a small landing zone, and that it will be very easy to end up in the rough. Whereas if you had a quarterback, it's so much more accurate that it's going to be a lot easier to stay out of the rough. Now, that's a prime example right there. Now that had a little bit too much distance on it, but you can see how far off it was. So I've got a kingmaker on, and you can see I've got plenty of room. I'm almost 2 rings, so I'm about 4 miles per hour into it. Plus I have a 4 mile per hour wind. So we're getting an 8 mile per hour out into this area right here. And the wind's kind of pulling me to the left. I'm trying to hit it straight here, but I've left myself a lot of room on the right hand side. I've got a 2 ring pull grate to the right. and it ended up out there in the clear. Now with a 4 or 5 power ball, you know, the deal is with a 4 or 5 power ball, you could probably come here with a big topper and really try and push the issue about getting out there. But big topper is going to be very inaccurate, and it's always the most inaccurate at the very end of the run. So if you have the equipment and you have the balls in your inventory to try that shot, it's worth exploring. But I think this shot down here where our opponent's at, if you brought the right equipment, once again, you bring a bigger ball so that you can make your clubs work for you instead of against you. That you're easily going to be able to get eagle on this side right here, and it's almost like a guaranteed eagle. Whereas the other side over here, you could end up in a spot of bother. And if you end up in a spot of bother over here, you're trying to get on the green and having to contend with the sand. And you know, this shot over here is, you know, could become a much tougher shot just because of the obstructions, the traps. Now this hole right here, there's a wind adjustment going on here, so what I'm trying to do is not do a whole lot, but I want to see if just a base wind adjustment will get me to the hole. So the ball does look like it's going to go from where I set it up there. So that was a 2.5 ring pull. So we're at 4.6 wind. It's 1.9 per ring. So that's 3.8. And that leaves me between 3.8 and 4.6. That leaves me 7.7. So I moved it 2.5 rings. At 2.5 rings it would have been 0.49. So we're pretty close right there at 2.5 rings on the movement. And then watch how far off this ball is. So hit it perfect. I had to snap it off real quick because I was running out of time. And the ball ends up at least a good, on that club right there, we're talking about at least a good ring, which is like 2 miles per hour. So that might have been, this may be one of those holes where coming to the green because of the elevation change, it's got that big hill in the front. We may have to add on maybe 20% to the drive to the green. I'll have to continue to practice as I get this hole in shootouts where I'm not really trying to put it in the cup. I'm aiming towards a transition between the rough and the fringe, or the fringe and the green, and really dial in make sure I make a really good wind adjustment, focus on perfect, and see where it lands, because I think we're going to have to do a wind adjustment on the green shot at least on this hole. But I want to shoot that a couple more times just to make sure that the tip right there wasn't going off in that direction and I didn't catch it. I think several of the holes here, it seems like there's so much elevation change that in like the last tournament that we played, the Vintage Cup, there was a lot of holes where we were playing the hole at minimum club, but we were using a maximum wind adjustment. And these holes here seem like they may be where we have to do some adjustment for the wind on top of what we normally do in order to make the right adjustments. And as the week goes on, those are the things that we really want to focus on. So our goal number 1 on these holes is to figure out what clubs and what balls we're going to bring to each hole. And then once we've established what club and ball we're going to use on the drive to make sure that we're setting ourselves up for that second shot, then once we've dialed that in where we're in the spot we want to be, then we really want to focus on that second shot of where the ball is landing on the first hit versus where we wanted it to land. We want to make sure that the wind adjustments are right. So trying to figure out how much backspin or topspin or what you need to do in order to get the ball to go into the hole is not going to be, it's going to be useless if we're not making correct wind adjustments. So once we figure out, like, you know, I wanted to land here because I wanted to go at the hole with my long iron and I wanted to have a backbone, and once you've got this drive shot down, then our next goal is to make sure that where we're at in the club, we're making a right wind adjustment. All right, that was hole number 3, par 5 of the Southcoast tournament. It's the White Cliffs Golf Club hole. Thank you for watching. If I can get out of here.